Jacoby's sick. I was up all night last night, most of the night before. I'm fucking just... I've never wanted cocaine in the morning more than I do right now. Fuck.
All right, welcome to SVU Pod Especially Heinous. I'm Gabe.
I'm Tasha.
We were on season 7, episode 2, Design. We're still in 2005. I feel like we've been in 2005 for like 2 years.
We have been here for a long time. Maybe they were just like cranking out the eps because this was, I was going to say this was prime SVU time, but that's just legit been the last 25 years.
Right.
But people were going hard on it.
That was my nickname. No. I don't know.
No. That was true about me in high school. Actually, that was true about me
after high school.
After high school. From 18 to 21, that was true about me.
The opening scene. So we're on a roof of a hotel and a pregnant woman is standing on the ledge of a balcony.
Yeah, just like those New York islands of Arufas where there's just a ledge around the fucking rooftop. She's like sitting on a ledge.
So there's a cop and he's trying to convince her to come down, but he sounds like he's reading from a script. You know, he's like, I support you and I want you to be successful in life and you should come down off that roof.
He's reading from the please don't jump leaflet that they hand out in the lobby of high rises or something. Like he was reading off of a page.
Yeah. I think that was intentional. It was to sound, obviously it was.
They weren't like, you're not prepared, but it's fine. No, it was
right.
Yeah, it was to sound like this guy is not doing a great job. He should not have been the front lines guy.
Yeah, he's just like a beat cop somebody was like, hey, come here, we need help. And he's like, fuck,
I have this thing in my car. Hang on a sec. It hasn't left my glove box. Okay, ready. Don't jump.
Don't do it.
The guy who normally does this is on vacation with his family. They took the kids to Disney. What terrible timing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so this actor, the gal on the roof, this is Estella Warren. Her credit is incredible to me. She was a fucking national champion synchronized swimmer in Canada. And then she was discovered by a talent scout when she walked in her high school fashion show and became an actor. Like, what a whirlwind of a childhood,
Yeah.
I can relate. One time a magician called me up on stage as a kid, so...
Those are those like just magical, beautiful people that are like, if you just want it bad enough, you just have to go for it. And you're like, you've done nothing.
Where you just like tripped into being famous. She acted her ass off in this episode. Like
she's great, and she looked familiar too.
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of stuff, and she does have Angelina Jolie face. So I'm sure that was also people were like, holy shit, she's gorgeous. This girl is
very talented.
And very talented, yeah.
She deserves everything that she's gotten. This woman on the roof, she keeps yelling that no one is going to miss her. And the cop says, what about the baby's dad? She's screaming and crying and saying, you don't understand. I was raped. I'm like, whoa. And she's like pregnant.
Yeah.
Benson shows up and the cop is giving her the rundown. He doesn't know the girl's name. He doesn't even think that the woman is staying at the hotel. And then the cop brings Benny to the roof. Benson comes up to her kind of, slowly. She brought her something warm to drink since it's cold. Benson slowly sits the drink next to her and tells her to at least hold it to warm her hands. So the woman's name is April. Benson tries to talk to her, asking her if she's picked out a name for the baby. April says she's naming the baby after her mom, Sarah, who died from breast cancer last year. Benny tells her that she's from the Special Victims Unit and she's there to help her. But April starts crying and saying she's worried that she won't be able to love her baby because of the rape. And this is totally in Benson's wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
With her history with her mom.
This is her wheelhouse.
Yeah. Benson tells her that she chose to keep the baby, gave her a beautiful name, and that she already loves the baby. And April says that she cannot do this alone. Benny tells her that she doesn't have to and promises to help her and they'll figure it out together, and then kind of extends her hand to April, grabs her and hugs her and pulls her down. And she's just bawling in Benny's arms. At the hospital, Benson and Stabler get updates from the doctor. They're doing a little walk and talk. April's doing well. Her tox screen was negative for any drugs or alcohol. Her vitals are good. She's 35 weeks pregnant. And the doctor says, hey, she's good to go, as in being released. And Stabler and Benson are like, what? They think she needs to stay longer, of course, but the doctor says that her suicidal ideations seem to have passed, and she has no history of prior attempts. Benson asks if the doctor can guarantee that she won't climb back up on a ledge, tomorrow. And Stabler tells the doctor to put her on a psych hold until the baby is born. But the doctor can't do that. He says that April isn't, quote, acutely psychotic and isn't a danger to herself and others. And Stabler gets fucking pissed. And he's like, oh, yeah, what about the baby? Does the unborn baby, does that not count? And the doctor says, look, April agreed to outpatient counseling. My job is done. And he walks away. Betty and Stave speak with April in her hospital room. April felt like she had been dealing with her rape until the day before when she was on the roof. She tells him that she just snapped. Benny says that happens. She's not alone. A lot of women have gone through this. April says that everywhere she goes, she sees his face, even when she closes her eyes. Benson asks April to tell her about the rape. So she met the guy at the bar. They talked all night. He offered to walk her home, and she remembers thinking, oh my God, finally a gentleman. And she hoped that he would kiss her at the door, but when she unlocked it, he pushed her into the apartment and locked the door behind him. She didn't call the police at first because she felt stupid for believing someone would actually be interested in her because she's like...
Yeah, she's like, I'm a nurse's assistant.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a job interview. You're fucking gorgeous, and we're giving this guy the time of day. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he raped you.
I mean, self-perception is...
Right.
You get to feel however you want about yourself, but I was kind of like, really? That's it? I've never once been interested in a guy and thought about my job being a deterrent.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I wait tables. Buy me dinner.
She says she didn't call the police because she felt stupid for believing someone would actually be interested in her. Oh, I said that. Benson tells her that it wasn't her fault. Duh. But that's not how we feel. And then immediately he's like, you should face him. It will help her deal with it. She needs to be strong for her baby. And I feel like that's a low blow. I kind of hate how pushy she is with victims about immediately, like, but it is her job. Like, she's trying to arrest this guy so he doesn't hurt other people. It's just like, she immediately went from like, you should face him for your baby. You're like, whoa. Whoa. You know?
I mean, I don't know, like, IRL how the bedside manner is with that sort of thing, but
I feel like Benson, TV show, Benson's Got the Best, because you hear about actual cops and they're just like, get the perp, you know?
Yeah. And there's like a time crunch or whatever. And she does make a point to like try to be sensitive, but there is like a desperation around Benson all the time too.
Benson convinces April to tell her the name of the rapist, Barclay Pallister.
If it had not been for our Toyota captioning, I would have sworn up and down that she called him Broccoli. She's like, broccoli, bushy green hair, Pallister. Cruciferous Pallister.
Cruciferous. Okay, so he looks like Remus Lupin from Harry Potter, and I don't know who the actor is.
Oh my God. That was like the first thing I said was, okay, so Munch and Toots go to talk to Broccoli at Pallister Labs, and I looked him up, of course. He's constantly working. I went through his 162 acting credits, but the only thing that got me really jazzed was the voiceover work that he did in the early mid-90s for the cartoon that I'd completely forgotten about, Biker Mice from Mars. Amazing. And then I watched a bunch of YouTube shit on it. But as soon as he starts talking, I'm like, he talks like a professor at Hogwarts.
Oh, yeah.
That's what yeah.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
And I was like, or Lisa Vanderpump. Later, he sounds like Lisa Vanderpump, which is not for you.
He looks like he looks like David Thewlis's more successful handsome brother or something.
So Munch and Toots are there talking to this guy. He claims to not remember April when they show him her picture and is like, we definitely didn't have sex. Toots tells him that he's being accused of rape and that rape resulted in her pregnancy. Pallister completely denies that. He's like, I'm happily married. I would never cheat on my wife. So they ask him if he has an alibi, and he just says, I was probably here at the lab working. Actually, he says, I was probably here at the lab working. He's very, he's Hogwarts British. So if I'm not doing it justice, which I'm not, then just imagine that. So they continue their walk and talk through the lab. He goes on to tell them that April probably saw his photo in Forbes or some rich people magazine and wanted to jump on the claim since women had been, quote, crawling out of the woodwork ever since his company went public. And Munch is like, all those NBA players out there and she picked you, huh? Pallister takes him into his cadaver lab. He's developing a flash freeze method of cremation. It's eco-friendly. It's revolutionary. This is the thing that he's making bank on and what he's known for.
I hope this is real. I hope this is a thing that happened.
I don't know. Like freeze drying bodies?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably. I mean, it makes more sense.
I mean, it's brilliant.
It is. I doubt an SVU writer I doubt Jeremy just came up with it and was like, listen to this sci-fi shit. Anyway.
And then there's some scientists on the cruise like taking notes. Like, fuck, I'm going to be rich. This dude's fucking
looking around the corner. Why are you wearing that white lab coat on vacation? He's got it on over his swim trunks.
It's like in The Good Place. Like, well, the only guy that got it anywhere near close was this one hippie. He was like,
yeah. Dave or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's going on about this science that he's developed. It's going to revolutionize mortuary science. And Munch is like, and that gets you laid like a rock star. Like, that fucking makes sense because nothing fucking skis my genes harder than mortuary science. Right?
Yeah.
Skis
my genes.
So Pallister, again, is like, I would never fucking cheat on my wife. I'll agree to a paternity test because this is ridiculous. This isn't going to be mine. This is a waste of your fucking time. Boom. Precinct. DNA results are in. Benny Stabler Pallister and his lawyer Chauncey Zirko are in a conference room there, but it's been converted into a salacious morning talk show set because Pallister is the father. Okay?
This is where I was like, this doesn't seem right. Something is wrong. Like,
no way did you think that already.
Yeah, well, because I was like, I believed Pallister. Because I was like, this doesn't make sense to me.
Because usually they tell the truth right away.
No, there was just something that was like weird about it. I don't know.
I did a rewatch and was like, how was I so wrong? Because I would fall for a con? I don't know. Pallister denies having touched April. And Benson's like, yeah, sorry, but immaculate conception isn't going to hold up in court. How about try that again?
The whole precinct busts out laughing.
Oh, she's looking around at everybody. Right?
She's the Bill Burr of the fucking precinct today.
What does this guy think he's doing? Immaculate conception. Okay.
I'm from Boston. I'm not going to, come on.
You think any of us are going to believe this, buddy? Just come on. Shut up.
Let's go to Duncan.
Get out of here. So fucking Chauncey, his lawyer, tells them that Pallister admits to meeting April in the bar, but says that he was drunk and he doesn't remember much else. Okay, Intoc's defense, better, closer, warmer. They're listening. Mm-hmm. Pallister claims that he would have known if he raped her. And Benson goes, well, you did. So And Zirko says, okay, we'll give on paternity, but the sex was consensual, no rape. So I'm sitting there going, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. He's basically saying, okay, fine. We'll agree that the baby is his. Like there was some debate post-paternity test that proved it.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, fine. We'll agree that that's true. It's like science told you that already.
Something like the whole thing was just, it was like, usually when they like test a guy, it's the wrong guy, but then you think it's him, then he comes back later. But all of this was just like falling into place within like 8 minutes. And I was like, what? Something is going on. Like I just thought it was weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't doing any math at this point. I was just like, yeah, maybe it has to do with his business. Mm-hmm. Or like she was going to end up dead.
See, my thing was like, she got his sperm.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's what I was thinking immediately, and I don't know why. Because I don't know. I was just like, she found his sperm somewhere, and I don't know.
So you just jumped to victim blaming.
Yeah, I did.
Got it. At the trial, April's on the stand as Novak walks her through that night. She goes into detail about what happened with Pallister that night and the details of her rape. She fought back, but Pallister choked her and raped her repeatedly. She's bawling on the stand, saying that she was afraid he was going to kill her.
So later, outside the courtroom, old Chauncey Zirko tries to negotiate a deal with Novak.
I like how you want to jump on the Chaunce, too.
It's just so fucking like, what? Chaunce? I don't want that for my daughter. So he tries to negotiate a deal with Novak. Zirko wants probation, no jail time for Pallister, but Novak won't take it, of course. And then he's like, oh my God, Pallister is a contributing member to society and says that April belongs in a fucking psych ward. He's bringing up about how she almost jumped off the roof. And Benny Stabler wanted her in the hospital longer. It's like, you can't do that.
See, yeah, they're leaning into everything that enrages me.
Yeah.
I think that's why I was so on board with the storyline. I'm like, oh, the crazy girl defense? Yeah.
See, I thought that maybe even somehow she got his DNA and was fake being pregnant, but like got them to take the DNA test like a different way with his blood. You know what I mean? That it was just going to be like there was nothing in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was way over. I mean, I was like not wrong, but I was wrong.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Novak tells him that he can't use that information from April's suicide attempt. And Zirkle says, well, actually, I can. In a custody hearing. What? Apparently, Pallister is going to fight for custody of the baby unless April agrees to a plea. And everyone's like, what in the fuck is going on? First, Pallister denies raping April. Then he wants to fight for custody? Like, what is going? What's up?
What is up?
Zirko's pulling the strings. You know that he is. It's time to go back to court. April does not think she can face Pallister again, but Benny and Novak tell her she's halfway done and just keep her eyes on Benny.
Let's go to karaoke. We'll sing you some Journey. You'll be on board. Oh, we're halfway there.
Oh,
living on a prayer.
April's back on the stand being cross-examined by Zirko. He wants to know why she waited 8 months to report the, quote, alleged rape. April says that she was scared, confused, and humiliated. And to be honest, that's not uncommon. He brings up her...
That's like the worst question too. Like, where do you think you were going to go with that lawyer who's done this a million times? Why didn't you come forward sooner? And it's like, there's literal stats to back up why someone wouldn't. It's just dumb. It's just a dumb question. Again, just to tap in my like feminist rage, I guess.
He brings up her suicide attempt, and she says that she wanted to take her own life, but not hurt the baby. That's why she couldn't do it. And then Zirko says she must have a strong love for the baby if she's willing to charge the father with rape. What the fuck is
fucking ridiculous?
And she says that it's the right thing to do. All the while, like, staring at Benson.
You mean that she's willing to charge a rapist with rape?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That was such a weird question. I can't believe somebody wasn't like, objection, this is beyond fucked. You know?
Right. Not to get everybody confused in legalese, but this is fucked up.
Stenographer, take it down.
I mean, clearly this was doing its job because I'm just angry about that and not focused on the nuances of what else could be happening. Because I was fully on board with the whole storyline, not questioning it whatsoever. Good job, writers' room. Good job.
Right. Zirko asks her if anything would change her mind. She says no. He asks her if maybe $500K would change her mind. What? He brings up that April had called his office that morning wanting to settle. Ooh. The music gets all swelly, and then Benson squints her eyes like, I'm sorry, what? Later in a room, Benny and Novak are with April fucking just pissed.
Yeah.
They're like, what the fuck, dude? About the call made to Zirko. April says that he told her that she'd lose the case and that he was going to come for the baby. Novak tells her that Zirko lied to her, and April says she didn't know. I'm just a baby. I don't know anything.
I'm just a little baby. I don't have any money.
Yeah. Who was it that they were trying to go see?
Lil Wayne.
That's it, yeah. Benson tells her that the jury now sees her as a gold digger rather than a rape victim. April says that she's sorry, she made a mistake, and she didn't call Benson about it because she knew that she'd be mad at her. She's like, just like you are right now, I can see it in your eyes. Benson turns into fucking Stabler. And she's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. It was like real dad. You know?
Oh, that's worse. That's worse.
I know. Novak tells April that she'll have to come back to court the next day and refuse the settlement. And then April's like, I'll do anything to make sure this is right. I'm like, something is fishy. I wrote that down.
God.
Something is fishy.
Oh my God, Jacoby's fish impression is my favorite. Has he shown it to you?
Yes, many times. I love it.
Oh yeah, that's right. He has.
Now we're in court. The judge is pissed because April is 40 minutes late. Here we go. She took the money. Zirko says that her being late makes it obvious that April wants to settle. But Novak says April was adamant on appearing in court and fucking not taking the settlement. Novak asks for a brief continuance to figure this out, but the judge ain't having it.
Nope.
Luckily, Stabler calls in.
Dude,
what?
They're talking in court. And I don't know who this guy is, just the secretary who sits in there. But he is straight out of fucking Mayberry, dude.
Dude.
Loved
I wish I would have taken a video because his face, like
we hear off camera, Your Honor, And we cut to this guy with his little glasses. I have Detective Stabler on the line. Highway police just found Miss Troost. I'm like, where did you come from? And he's like, Mississippi. Derek, why are you doing this accent? You have one line, just fucking say it. And he's like, yeah, but my backstory is, remember that movie A Time to Kill? I watched it a bunch before I got this role. I have Detective Stabler on the line. So then the music's like, as Benny leaves the courtroom. Where are we going? Benny and Stabes go to meet with Highway Patrol where they found April. It's a crash site. April was driving and drove off the road down an embankment. Stabler's like, no guardrail? And the cop's like, yeah, I bet they'll find the money for one after this. He's talking about the city, right? Yeah. Like, I always worry about driving off a road with no guardrail. Or when you're driving and there's a huge drop in the ditch or whatever, it freaks me the fuck out every time. It's like that whole intrusive thoughts thing where I'm like,
Oh man, dude, driving in the Colorado mountains sometimes it was terrible.
Especially with the kind of winters and shit that we have. It always feels like ice road truckers to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the most dangerous thing I could be doing, and I'm going to Target. Like, fuck this. Okay, so the car had flown off the side of the road. The gas tank started on fire on impact like a fucking action movie, and April didn't make it. No survivors. Mm-hmm. The fire department responded that morning to a burning car. It had already been burning for a while. So, boop, 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 boop. They go down the hill at the car. Benson tells them, well, it was probably a suicide. And she's all worked up. So Benson and Stabler walk away from the car. Stabler realizes that she's all like, well, it was probably a fucking suicide, you know? Mm-hmm. And so he's like, there was nothing you could have done. Because clearly the way she was saying it was, you're blaming yourself. Benson's like, I didn't keep control of myself. I showed her that I was pissed about her calling Zirko. And it's just, this is on me. And Stabler writes it off like, dude, April lied to you. And everyone's got hot lava rage directly beneath the surface. And yours exploded like a car accident. Big deal.
Right.
I made a barista cry on my way here today. Like, what are you talking about? Who gives a shit? But Benson's convinced that she let April down. And this is me. I don't think April did this intentionally. I think she was run off the road. So we see where I'm at still.
Yeah.
In Novak's office, Benson comes in to discuss the trial. Novak says she's offering Pallister a deal. She's convinced the jury's going to acquit him based on the news of the settlement. And Benson fucking hates that. She wants justice for this guy being a fucking rapist. If Benson can find evidence that April was going to turn down the settlement, Novak may be able to bluff Pallister to plea. Mm-hmm. Well, they got to find this evidence, right? So Benny and Stabes go to April's apartment. And they're searching through her place for any signs of her suicide or the settlement or anything. Emails, digging around in the physical rooms, etc. As Benson looks through the mail, she sits down on the sofa. She's like, ew, it's wet. Ugh. And it's all white and crusty too. ... That's gonna mean something.
In my mind, I was like, April's hiding in the closet somewhere. She grabbed her mail. It was wet because it was raining, and she put it down.
Oh my God. You're like
I'm
there, but
girl.
So not there. At one point, I did say Gone Girl.
Yeah.
At one point, I was like, this is a little Gone Girl. Yeah.
It was very Gone Girl. Because it made me kind of want to rewatch the movie.
If that movie pops into my fucking periphery, I have to watch it.
Yeah. That's how I know about Shawshank.
Oh, Shawshank too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy Dufresne.
Later, CSU is on the scene. It looks like someone used hydrogen peroxide to get blood out of the sofa. CSU Judy shines a black light on the wall. Blood smears are all over it. The floor also has signs that blood was cleaned off of it. CSU Judy says there's no body, but this is definitely a fucking crime scene. She thinks April's death was a homicide. Stabler thinks that April was killed at the apartment and then the crash was staged. Back at the crash site, Benson and Stabler meet with CSU to go over evidence. CSU Ryan O'Halloran figures out how, if you want to do a thing, go ahead. You always do it, and I never...
Oh, okay. I didn't have anything. But Ryan, I took a gap year before CSU college to go backpack across Ireland. And when I did, I learned a lot, not only about the history of the country, but also about myself, O'Halloran.
I don't know about myself. So O'Halloran figures out that the crash was rigged. Oh? Some canisters that are used to store chemicals in labs were found. Stabler points out that, oh my God, Pallister has a lab. They have canisters. CSU shows that the dents on the can match with the angle of impact against the guardrail. They were wedged under the dash when the pedal was to the middle.
Stop
That's what he said.
I know, but stop.
Okay. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
Not that.
Gap year O'Halloran. O'Halloran also found that tire marks made on the pavement prior to impact show that the tire spun in place, so the engine was fucking revved. Somebody was in there. Then the car was put into drive so it would crash. Betty and Stapes think Pallister did this and that he staged the crash after killing April. So the entire interior of the car was sent over to Coroner Warner so she can try to find what happened and piece everything together and how April died.
Right.
All right, so Coroner Warner goes over what she found in the car with Betty and Stapes. The fire marshal told Coroner Warner that it looked like an accelerant like gasoline was used to enhance the burn. Coroner Warner also didn't find a body or any evidence of a body having been in the car when it burned. This is what I was looking for because usually there's something like a skin something or bone or like tooth or something, you know?
But it was so burnt when they first got to the crash site. They're like, oh yeah, she perished in this crash. I don't know why I'm talking like I was on the fucking Titanic. But then Coroner Warner's like, yeah, we should have found some like fucking long bones or some shit.
Yeah. Stabler thinks that maybe Pallister used his new, quote, cremation method to vaporize April. I
forgot about the science part and I was like, Jesus Christ. He's like, he used his technology to vaporize her. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
But I was like, I don't know about that. That's kind of wild.
This is SVU, Gabe.
I know. Benson thinks someone had to have seen Pallister and April together before she died. And then Coroner Warner's like, I wonder if she kept her car in a garage.
So Toots and Munch chat with my father-in-law who's moonlighting as April's doorman at her building, apparently.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. He tells Munch and Toots that she parked the car on the street by the building. The doorman was working until 11 the night April was killed, and there's no doorman after that. Visitors have to be buzzed in. There are also no security cameras. The doorman says the manager of the building is too cheap for any of that. The last time he saw April was 10 p.m. the night she died, and she had just come home from a date. He said that she was dolled up. She had went to Luigi's, which is kind of romantic. He knows that and remembers that because she brought the doorman a doggy bag with a T-bone for his dog.
Oh, it's really nice, actually.
It is really nice. So we go over to Luigi's. The staff remembers April. I could not put my finger on who this guy was, this like maitre d' dude, but it was only in my mind because he was a little bald man wearing a suit. And in my mind, this guy was someone from Bugs Bunny. Oh, God. With like a long tail coat.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
See, I was like, this guy definitely was probably on The Sopranos somewhere. He's probably like a restaurant
And then
owner.
you brought up that other Bugs Bunny thing.
Weird.
Porky Pig. Oh, God. I'm like, isn't it wild that we bring these things up? No, we have a finite number of references because of the time that we were young. Anyway, so this little guy, this little maitre d', they're talking to him and they ask if he remembers her. Of course I remember her. She special ordered no garlic on account of the baby.
Oh, so
she and the guy.
Baby. You're right. That's how, yeah.
I typed it out because that's how he said it. Baybee. Baby. She and the guy she was with hardly spoke to each other. And he describes the guy she was with as tall and from his Black American Express card, very rich. Before dessert, April got upset. She yelled at the guy and she left. What?
Is that what Amex is?
Yeah.
American Express? When someone says Amex, they're saying American Express?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that until right now.
Oh.
I thought it was a separate fucking brand. Oh my God.
Oh my God. No, it's.
Oh my God. Seeing it typed out like that. Oh my God. I didn't know.
Yeah, American Express.
Oh my God. I'm so poor. Yeah, laugh at it. It's funny.
No.
I'm kidding.
The way you said
Oh my-
poor. God.
Oh
shut
my
up.
God. I'm so poor.
All right. Black American Express card, very rich. Okay.
Black.
Before dessert, April got upset. She yelled at the guy and left. I figured it was the hormones. You know, pregnant. So this dude finds the credit card receipt from that night. The name on the card was broccoli with cheese. Palace.
I knew you were going to do something with broccoli. Barkley cheese soup from Panera Bread and a half a fucking
Baguette.
chicken Bravo.
Yeah, Barclay Pallister. Ooh, that's who she was at dinner with. What? Okay.
Turkey Bravo. That's what I meant to say.
Turkey Bravo.
Keep the sauce off. Anyway.
Bravo turkey. That's something that a kid on the street on SVU would say to be mean. At the Pallister residence, Benny and Stabes chat with Pallister. And Zirko's there too. Fucking Chauncey. He calls the homicide accusation sour grapes. And Pallister's all posh British huffy. I never went to April's apartment. Cool, then your wife can vouch for your whereabouts. My wife left me after you accused me of rape. And Stabler's like, well, the screw fits, which I think it does. That's why I'm saying that. Stabler wants to know what a victim and a rapist talk about over pasta, which sounds like the beginning of a terrible joke.
Right.
Pallister says that April had him by the balls, so he gave her $500,000 in cash, which Stabler immediately calls out as ridiculous. You carried $500,000 through the city in cash? A $500,000 Bobby Brown through New York City? No. Benson asks why she left the restaurant crying.
No. No, you didn't.
I don't believe you. Benson asks, well, then why did she leave the restaurant crying? Pallister says it's because April is crazy. And he was happy to pay her just to get her out of his life. Pallister says that April left with the money and he never saw her again. And his lawyer jumps in, fucking charge Pallister or leave, you guys. And Stabler turns to leave. But then he tells Pallister that his cleanup job at the apartment sucked. He should have let April burn up in the car and that the mistakes he made are going to catch up to him. Blink, 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 blink.
Then dude turns into a fucking werewolf and stalks the halls of Hogwarts. Haagen-Dazs.
I was going to say Hogwarts. He goes into the Cherry Garcia room.
He's like, I will confront the Whomping Willow. All right.
Okay.
At the precinct, the SVU reviews the case evidence. Benson says that all the evidence they have points at Pallister being April's killer. The canisters O'Halloran found on the car crash scene and the peroxide matches what is in Pallister's lab, but Cragen's like, dudes, that's in every lab. The evidence is still only circumstantial. I'm loving that Cragen's kind of the only one that has his head on his shoulder. He's like, you guys, let's not fucking do what we do.
Yeah. I mean, that's his job as the captain.
Yeah. Stabler says that the blood found on the couch, walls, and floor in April's apartment is a DNA match for her. But Cragen's like, we don't have a fucking body. Toots comes in. During the canvass of April's building, a neighbor says she complained to April about loud music on the night she died. April had apologized to the neighbor and said that she would tell her friend to turn down the music. What friend?
Yeah.
The neighbor said that the friend April had over was referred to as a, quote, him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Munch friggin' pops in and says that he knows who the friend was. April's phone luds say that she had 4 calls from a guy named Roger Mason the night she was at dinner with Pallister.
Yeah, and they're all like, who? And he's like, Roger, you guys don't know about him?
You know,
fucking
Raj.
Catch up.
Cat's up, you guys.
No.
Okay. Don't. No, you're right to.
I know.
Toots and Munch go to Roger Mason's apartment. Dude tells him that he was calling April repeatedly because she didn't pick up and he was worried about the baby. That's, quote, what friends do. Munch says that homicides are committed by people that know the victims the most, and Toots tells Mason that he thinks he got impatient when April didn't return his calls, and he killed April at her apartment that night. That's crazy. Yeah. She did not. I got so mad she didn't pick up the phone a couple times, so I fucking killed her. Like, what?
Yeah, but they were trying to imply that it was like a jealous boyfriend
yeah.
thing, or like he was into her.
Yeah. Mason says, I would never hurt my baby.
What?
Munch and Toots are... Munch and Toots are obviously confused. Shut up. A woman comes out of nowhere and says, our baby. So she's Mason's wife, and they were going to adopt April's baby. And Toots is like, April didn't mention that. The Masons had agreed to pay for the hospital bills, doctor bills, delivery fees. So far, it's been about $50K. And Toots is like, oh, you're, quote, buying a baby? But Mason says that April didn't want to keep the baby, and it's what was best for everyone. Toots asked them what was so fucking pressing that night that Roger kept calling her. He explains that April had been through a lot. Her husband had died. She lost her job and got behind on rent.
What?
Mrs. Mason says that they had been giving April some extra cash, but a few days ago she stopped returning their calls. At the precinct, Toots, Munch, and Kragan are doing a little walk and talk, and they're talking about the new info on April. So far, April has made a lot of money off the Masons and gotten a ton of money from Pallister. Kragan says April isn't the, quote, poor, helpless victim that we thought she was. But Benson hears them talking about how April wasn't so helpless after all, and then says, you guys have no friggin' idea.
You don't know the half of it.
You don't know the friggin' half of it, you guys. She introduces them to other couples that are all at desks speaking to officers. The Ramseys, the Harts, the Fritzlers. That's not a real name.
Fritzler.
My name is Chauncey Fritzler. Just like my father, the father before him.
We've had this car dealership in our family for 100 years. My great-great-grandfather sold the first Model T in this state. Yes, he did.
Anyways, they're all expecting a baby.
Chauncey Fritzler the fourth. Okay.
I never had a son, so I had to name my daughter that. She is not happy.
Not happy. My sweet, precious, beautiful
Chauncey.
pigtailed Chaunce. Chaunce.
So yeah, they're all these people are all expecting a baby.
She'll tell you her name's Chelsea, but it's not.
And I make sure I pop out behind every light post and let anybody know if she says Chelsea.
Singing in the rain.
Did I tell you I play the fiddle? Okay. All right. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Anyways, each and every one of these people, including the Fritzels, they were all, including the Fritzlers.
Including Miss Frizzle. Get on the bus.
So licorice back in the day were called Fritzlers, and then we changed it to Twizzlers to help everybody. I don't know.
Oh my
Then
God.
Red Vines came out. We've been hard up for cash for a long time. Okay.
Turns out Fritzler was actually a slur for...
Slur. Slur for what?
I don't want to say. I don't know.
Oh.
I didn't... Oh my God.
Anyways, all of these parents are expecting a baby from April. All the couples had paid $50K to adopt April's baby. There's probably more they don't even know about. Kragan kind of points out that everyone she scammed has the motivation to kill her, though, you know? A woman in fur walks into the precinct. She looks for Kragan. Her name is Lorraine Dillon. She's fucking April's mom.
She's fucking Linda Carter. This is Wonder Woman. This is original 1970s fucking Wonder Woman.
That's why she looked familiar.
That's why she's iconic looking. Anyway, she's fucking fabulous. So she shows up. That's my daughter. Okay. She's interviewed by Benson now. Benny tells her that April had said her mother's name was Sarah. This fabulous fur collar coat woman says, I've had 6 husbands and just as many last names, but I've always been Lorraine. If she's the villain, this is me to myself in this moment watching, if she's the villain, take me to the dark side, Daddy Darth Vader, because I fucking love her immediately. Benson also tells her that April said she had died from cancer last year. Lorraine tells Benson that April has always had a problem with the truth. April used to run away as a kid and would make a lot of, quote, crazy allegations against Lorraine's ex-husbands. So now I'm still like defending April in my mind. I'm like, okay, maybe she's doing fucked up shit, but like her mom didn't even believe her that maybe shit happened when she was a kid. If this woman's got all these ex-husbands and whatever. Lorraine hadn't seen April in a few years. They had a fight because April stole expensive jewelry from her, but Lorraine said she hadn't called the police. She was my daughter. Maybe if I had, she'd still be alive. She's a little choked up, but then composes herself as a lady does. Do you have any idea who did this? Kragan explains that April was mixed up in some illegal activity. When told about the money April had scammed from people, Lorraine tells them that April had a way of hiding things, but she has a safe deposit box. Methinks. Well, let's go find out. So they all head over to, I'm guessing it's the bank. Isn't that where safe deposit boxes are? I don't know. It's a room. We just cut to a dark ass room of safe deposit boxes with Benny, Stabes, and Lorraine in a completely different fabulous jacket, like this lavender leather blazer thing. The safe deposit box is drilled open by maybe a bank person. Don't you think they would have a spare key? But it's like a big long drill, like to get this thing out.
I don't know.
The only things in this box, because immediately Lorraine's like, is there any jewelry in there?
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, dude, it's all of these paparazzi style photos of dudes. And Benny, who is an apparent pop culture queen, goes through them and she's like, this one is a singer and it's Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray. This one owns the hottest restaurant in New York and it's Bobby fucking Flay. This one is the new third baseman that just came up from AAA and it's Jesse James Palmer, who IRL is a football player. Benny is a concert-going foodie with an insane fantasy football team, so it makes sense that she knows all of this at a glance. But
Lavender and Bergamot, man, she knows.
good thing we have her, you know?
Yeah.
Good thing she has so much fucking spare time on her hands.
Yeah.
Do you know how much time a fantasy football team takes? I like that in my head that's the facts now. Like, that's how she knows who this guy is and that he just came up from AAA.
Yeah.
And also in this, he's playing a baseball player instead of a football player because God forbid we get him confused with the real guy. I had to fucking Google him. But one of these photos is of Barclay Pallister. Why does she have his photo? Back at the precinct, the squad is reviewing the new evidence. All of the photos are up on our dream board. It seems like April had been stalking Pallister along with the others. They're all handsome, rich, talented at the top of their professions. Toots points at Mark McGrath and he goes, I know this guy. It's JJ Price. I got his CD. Okay. He said CD like a man of his age.
Yeah.
Stabler makes a comment that she had been looking for a, quote, champion breeder to have a kid with. And Toots says that if a, quote, hoe tricked me into fatherhood, I'd be pretty worked up. Jesus Christ. I'm still mad. Like, I'm never going to get it. Never going to get it. I'm never going to get it. Because I'm like, the gold digger angle? Fuck you guys.
Right.
So Cragen gives the stats on child support. It's 17.5% of your income before taxes. And these guys are like, well, that's more motive for Barclay to have killed her. And Cragen still doesn't seem to think it was him. He wants them to look into the other guys she was stalking as well, which is very logical and reasonable.
Right. So the other men in the pictures are being interviewed. Stabler's talking to the one guy named Don, who is the athlete guy.
Jesse Palmer, yeah.
Jesse Palmer. He says that April's crazy. He wishes he didn't know her. Stabler asks him if they had sex. Then it cuts to Toots talking to another guy, the Sugar Ray guy, and he thinks that they most likely had sex. It's like, dude, you don't know the half of it. I get so much puss. You have no idea.
I am plumb filled with puss, dude.
But he only remembers her face. The whole night was fuzzy and doesn't even remember her name.
She's lucky I remember her face. Like,
Right.
he's being like a chody music guy.
And you're like, okay, Shrek. That's what you're known for.
That's not Sugar Ray.
Who is it then?
Somebody want that?
Yeah, who's that? Sugar Ray.
That's fucking... No, that's like Chumbawamba or some shit.
No, it's not. It's
no, it's
Sugar
not.
Ray.
No, we've done it. Smash Mouth.
Oh, yeah.
No, Sugar Ray is Oh my girlfriend's dead.
Yeah.
Mark McGrath is actually a pretty cool dude.
Oh, is that his name? I
Yeah.
thought Mark McGrath was like a country singer.
No. The Sugar Ray guy's name is Mark McGrath. I don't know. I saw him on some reality show or whatever, and he seemed like a genuinely like decent dude. He got a great edit, if not, but he didn't come off douchey or anything at all.
So Toots asks him where he met April. Cut to Benson talking to Bobby Flay.
Oh.
He says that, and they're outside of, it's like they're being videotaped outside, and he's doing like I'm going to cook outside on TV. And I'm surprised he said all this while there was cameras there, by the way.
It was so his voice, the way he talks, and the fucking dialogue they gave him was, oh my God. I hope that he cringed at some of the shit that he had to say. I hope he wasn't like, hey guys, hey all my other friends, hey wait staff, we all have to get together at the end of a shift and watch me on SVU because I sound really cool.
So Bobby Flay says that he met April at his restaurant. Everyone was checking her out the night they met. Benson asks if she only had eyes for him, and he tells Benny that she also had eyes for his wallet, but a body like that is worth every penny. Ugh. Benson asks how much April cost him. Cut back to Stabler talking to Don, the athlete, aka Jesse Palmer. She tells Stabler that she didn't cost him anything. Actually, April bought him a beer. And she knew everything about him, like his stats, whatever. Stabler asks him what they did after the beer. Cut back to all the guys saying that they only had one drink with April, but they were all sick that night or the next day. They thought it was a hangover, all right? But back to Jesse Palmer with Stabler. He tells Stabes that he got randomly drug tested the next day and he failed it. Stabler's like, well, what the fuck did you take? And he's like, I didn't take anything. The test came back with Rohypnol. April fucking date raped him.
Yeah.
The music is as swollen as my ego when someone tells me I'm funny.
Yeah.
Stabler walks into Pallister's labs, goes up to talk to Pallister. He's like, get the fuck out of here. bro. But Stabler needs to ask him some questions. And Pallister ain't having it. But Stabler just asked him straight out if April brought him a drink the night that they met. And he said that she did. Stabler asks him what he remembers next. And Pallister says he remembers waking up in his bed alone. And then Stabler goes off the list, like the side effects of being drugged. Pallister's like, oh my God, did she put something in my fucking drink?
Yeah.
Stabler's like, dude, you were fucking roofied. Pallister's like, oh my God, I fucking told you I didn't rape April. Stabler says, I know. But Pallister straight up says, how did I get it up if I was roofied? I was like, whoa.
This guy is a man of science on the cutting edge of mortuary science technology.
Yeah.
And he's like, but if she slipped me a roofie, how did I get it up?
When
It's like,
especially like you would know about this because even Coroner said within 30 hours you can get a dead person's sperm. So it was wild. Okay, cut to the office of the medical examiner. Coroner Warner tells Munch and Toots how April was able to rape her victims. April may have used what is called electroejaculation. It's a device. It's placed in the rectum, shocks the men, and makes them involuntarily ejaculate.
Munch and Toots do not like this the whole time we're talking about it. They're just like,
Also, the
Jesus.
machine is huge. Like, did she carry that?
She brings a backpack. But by the time they see it, or like by the time she has that with her, they are so out of it.
It was in
they
the
don't know what's
hotel room
going on.
probably already. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So she's talking about the fucking thing that they insist on calling a cattle prod for the rest of the episode.
Right. So Coroner Warner explains them like how this machine came about. Apparently some parents did this to their son that had died because they wanted grandchildren. It's called posthumous reproduction. It's used on dead people if harvested within 30 hours, people in a coma, and paraplegics. I'd never heard of anything like that.
No.
If this is what April did, then the men had no idea what happened. They didn't even know.
Back at the precinct, Cragen is fucking floored as the team explains this shit to him. There's no state law providing guidance on the situation involving, quote, harvesting sperm from a man who's incapacitated or dead. And I'm like, isn't it at least some kind of biological theft, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's rape. It's fucking rape no matter what.
Well, it's rape 100%. But then also,
They even have laws for like guys getting raped. Jesus.
well, it's really but it's like, how would they prove that that's what she used? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure like it's all technical on what they can get them on in court and like it fitting certain parameters of the law or whatever. But it's just, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
And dude, they had found that it wasn't just fucking Sugar Ray and Bobby Flay. Nay, there were 34 guys. Sorry. There were 34 guys with the same fucking story.
Holy shit.
This is a new one for the team, by the way. Toots is still just reeling from it like he's fly fishing on the island of Arufa. He's like, and he just whispers to nobody but everybody, damn, who thinks this stuff up? And we're like, you're writers, dude.
You guys.
But here's the question. If April impregnated herself with Pallister's sperm, what did she do with the sperm from the other guys? Benson gets on her computer and looks up sperm banks in New York. There are 7 of them. The teams are going to split up and visit all of them. At the McManus Institute, Benson and Stabler ask the front desk employee if she recognized April. She does. April used to work at the sperm bank. She was in collections, but as an accountant.
Okay.
All of a sudden, we hear banging on a piano from the other room and a woman talking shit to someone, just yelling, lying son of a bitch, you're a fraud. And their little ears perk up. Let's go investigate. The shit talking continues as they walk into the room. Listen to that crap. It's a woman yelling at a doctor behind his desk, talking about her kid who's like 5 and right next to her. And they're playing the keyboard like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's pissed about it. This doctor has a ton of credits. He was fucking Drew in Deliverance.
Drew,
One of the dudes that goes canoeing with Burt
yeah.
Reynolds.
I wonder which one.
But he
was.
dies. Spoiler. He's the one. The super iconic scene of the Deliverance kid playing the banjo.
Yeah.
He's the guy playing the guitar and like doing the dueling thing with him.
Oh.
And then he tries to give him a high five or shake his hand, and the kid just fucking zones back out.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was him. That's him. He was also in RoboCop and Total Recall. So this guy is got quite the list. Benny and Staves want to know what the hell is going on in here. The woman tells them that, quote, this quack tricked me. He told her that her daughter would be playing Mozart, but the kid can't even play chopsticks. All she does is bang on the damn keys. I want my money back. And I'm like, are you stupid, lady? It's just bizarre to me that an adult woman would be like, you promised me a champion, purebred fucking Afghan hound. And they're like, this ain't Alex Cabot, honey. This is fucking a little kid with a tiny keyboard being a little kid on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's dumb. But apparently the sperm used to inseminate this woman was from a great musician, but he won't name him. Also, he calls the semen life juice.
Ew.
Which I was torn about in that moment. The mom wants to know why she's stuck with her kid.
Jesus.
The guy fires back at the mom by telling her that she provided 50% of the genes, so maybe the kid inherited those traits, her talentless ass.
Yeah, right.
Stabler stops him and asks the woman how much she paid for the sperm. 20 fucking grand. The doctor tells Stabler and Benson to arrest the woman for trespassing, but Benson cuffs him instead. He's arrested for stealing sperm. He is confused.
Yeah.
Juicy confused.
Ew.
Yeah, ew. Back at the precinct, Dr. McManus is getting questioned. He's irate and claims to be saving the human race. Benson tells him, you conspired with April Truce to forcibly obtain the mother loads. She legit said that too.
Yeah.
What in the fucking dialogue is going on?
Yeah.
But he says that's not true. He claimed that April explained his mission to the men and they were persuaded to donate their daddy sauce.
I know.
He didn't say that one. He didn't say that one. McManus claims he had no idea what she was doing to obtain these samples and is sorry if anyone was hurt, but thinks their suffering is for the greater good of the population. Benny asks him, how? Like, how is that for the betterment of the population? And he basically gives her the plot to Idiocracy. He goes, poor, less educated people are reproducing at a higher rate than bright, successful ones.
Right.
And he's trying to facilitate better breeding, for lack of a better descriptor.
I think Idiocracy came out in 2005 as well.
Did it?
I think so.
I mean, that's legit the plot.
It is. Oh, 2006.
Oh, okay. Maybe they got it from this episode. He thinks his work will reverse the demise of the human race with the best nizzle drizzle he can find.
Oh.
Dong water. Schlong jelly.
Ew.
Penis colada. Gentleman's relish. Stabler calls him a Nazi and says he's trying to create a master race. Stabler leaves and goes to talk with Huang behind the glass. Slams the door. He's a fucking nut job. Huang tells Stabler that to a lot of researchers, he may be Nobel Prize material. And Stabler, still at a 10, the Dr. Mengele fan club, which was a sadistic Nazi doctor nicknamed the Angel of Death from Auschwitz. Huang then outlines McManus's research on genetic predispositions in utero for Stabler as they walk out into the precinct. Stabes is like, so he's legit. And Huang responds, and controversial. He just came up with a way for people to choose their baby's sex. He says that like it's crazy because that's totally something people do now. You know, like people create a bunch of embryos and they'll have a whole petri dish and they'll know which one is male and which one is female. Yeah. So I'm like, is that controversial? Maybe then it was, but it's par for the course for IVF now. Anyway, essentially he's making it possible for rich people to design babies, which could create a bigger divide between the rich and the poor. The class divide would also include a genetic disparity he calls the enhanced and the average. So it's like they can create this baby who's good at the piano or who's like super smart. And so then they can advance. And then people who are, you get it.
It's really like, it's giving Gattaca. You know? I love that movie.
I haven't seen it in forever, so I'm just agreeing with you because I love you. I don't know it, but I like you.
You'd be surprised.
Up walks Daddy. Cragen's looked over the financials for the McManus Institute, and the business is broke. Huang thinks it's because the research he's doing is expensive. Cragen then shows them another document. Dr. Frankenstein had a backup plan.
What?
What is it?
Back in the room with McManus, Benny and Stabe show him the life insurance policy on April that Cragen found. The policy lists McManus as the sole beneficiary. Stabler tells him that he knows he murdered her. They show him a picture of the chemical canister from the crash site. He's like, oh my God, that's a canister from a lab, but there are like hundreds of labs.
And they're like, yeah, we accused a different guy with the lab of this earlier. We're just going to see if it works on you too.
Yeah.
So
they bring up how they found hydrogen peroxide at April's apartment. His lab also had hydrogen peroxide, but so does Walgreens.
Right.
So do hundreds of other labs. But Stabler says, quote, bet your lab is the only one who is the beneficiary of April's life insurance, which is true. McManus says that he loved April. She's his daughter, and he didn't kill her, and he can prove it. Holy shit.
This is continually unfolding before our eyes. So I don't feel bad that I didn't get it. Okay, I didn't get it. Is this a flog full of diamonds? I don't think fully, because it's kind of all on the same track, but it's like, and then he's her dad, and then she's this lady, and then what at the train station?
Okay, so Benson knocks on a door and April answers, what? She's wearing makeup and a nice outfit, clearly not pregnant anymore.
Or dead.
Yeah, I still thought that it was a fake pregnancy.
Oh,
The apartment she's in is also super nice. This lady's a great actress. Like, her bone structure changed from like super sweet to like, she's like, who told you? Completely not concerned at all.
Right.
Benson says, your dad told me. And then April says, mother always says, never trust a man. Benson walks into the apartment. She asks her where the baby is. April says it was stillborn. Benson calls her a liar and accuses her of killing the baby because she didn't need it anymore. April says sarcastically, that isn't nice to say to someone in mourning. Benson's like, cut the crap.
Yeah.
April says, you're my friend and you wouldn't help me. Benson's like, that's when I thought you were a fucking rape victim. But now I know you raped several men and they've got her all on extortion and fraud charges. She's like, oh, you do?
You do?
And she said, did they tell you I raped them? Benson lists off all the things April's being charged with: faking her own death, murder, conning the childless couples, the rapes of the men, and the money she took from Pallister. And then April says, I'm the fucking victim. And the money from Pallister was for her pain and suffering. Benson's like, fucking shut up, and arrests her for fraud. In Novak's office, Benson is pissed and wants to know why April is only being charged with fraud and extortion. Novak says her hands are tied. 3 dozen of her victims have no memory of being raped. 3 dozen.
Insane.
When Benson asks about the baby, Novak says that no hospitals in the area have records for her delivering there. Benson's convinced that April had the baby and either sold it or killed it, and calls April an evil bitch. And then I wrote, I think April kept the sperm of the richest man and used that for the DNA testing and wasn't even pregnant to begin with.
Oh my God.
Still holding on.
I like how as soon as you're a little off, I'm off the entire time, and you weren't where I was at this point, and I'm like, Ape.
What an idiot.
You just
What a
don't
dumb
get
bitch.
it. She just doesn't get it. Oh, it's precious.
Novak says the baby could have been stillborn, which isn't a crime. And Benson's like, no, it's a con.
And also, if a
disposing of
baby is- yeah.
Yeah. You can't just like,
She was 8 months pregnant.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were going to jump into that. But
Oh,
yes.
no, I was just with you on it, yeah. And Benson says that April has been scamming them since day one. She thinks April had no intention of jumping off the ledge. There's been so many twists and turns. Everybody remember the beginning when Benson met her.
Yeah.
Benson says that April ruined Pallister's life and they need to find the baby. Novak says that April probably is going to find someone to blame for all of this.
So still in Novak's office, but we've cut to a meeting between Novak, April, and April's lawyer, reoccurring defense attorney Cleo Conrad. April's lawyer says that April does have someone else to blame, her fabulous mother. She claims April was raised without any moral values. Novak fucking eye rolls. So April's a sociopath now? Conrad says that her client understands right and wrong, but doesn't think the law applies to her. Her mom lied to her entire life. The guy from the internet's favorite fight busts into the room and screams, "She came down in a bubble, Doug. Grow up." Novak just told her to grow up. That's all.
Yeah.
So Novak agrees with the internet guy, who just leaves after this, and says, yeah, my parents told me the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus are real, and then I fucking grew up. You realize some of the shit your parents told you isn't true. Conrad's ready for that and claims April was brainwashed. She's like a suicide bomber, indoctrinated from birth. She lives her life by the lies her mother told her. But ignorance isn't a defense. But mental defect is. Conrad is confident that Huang will agree that April was not responsible for her actions.
If you think you're going to be able to con fucking Huang.
No. He can see through all of your shit. Let's go to him examining April. April tells Huang that her mom had her running scams since she was born. Huang asks her if she finds tricking people amusing, and April responds with, absolutely.
Oh my God, you're so funny. You're like, April's mom had her running schemes since she was born. You get so dramatic about it. I love that.
That's me doing an impression of her because now she's like, she went from just, this is another performance. And this is her being like, oh, well, she says her mom told her that people deserved what they got if they were too stupid to notice what was happening. He asks her if she thinks it's okay to break the law. And she says she knows there are rules, they just don't apply to her. She also didn't go to school. Her mom didn't want her being influenced by anyone other than her, so she kept April home and taught her to be a scam artist in the name of survival. Huang then asks her about Dr. McManus. Her mom left him after April was born because he was broke. April met McManus a year ago. He was excited to have his daughter in his life, and she saw it as a perfect opportunity. She needed a job, and he paid her well for... and he paid her well for bringing in the best wieners. I really wanted to do that well for you. She needed a job, and he paid her well for bringing in the best wiener sauce she got access to. She's cold and matter-of-fact during the whole conversation and has zero compassion for Barclay when Huang tells her that, as a dad, Barclay deserves to know where his baby is. She says she'll tell him if she gets a sweet deal. When asked why she deserved a break, April tells Huang that she's too beautiful for prison.
He paid her well to bring in the best jiggly jizzers. Jiggle jizz. Oh, okay.
Okay. So we won't morph across the other side of the glass, which we don't reference because Cragen's not there. It's not that glass. April's mom, Lorraine, is with Benny over there watching this interview. She claims that she had no idea that April was that messed up. She's also wearing the blue version of the Chanel two-piece suit Marge found at an outlet store on The Simpsons.
I love that episode.
I know. Lorraine is mad because she's getting blamed for April's problems. She wants to know how April can tell all those lies in court. Like, that's not allowed. Novak tells Lorraine that she can testify in court so the jury has the truth. But Lorraine refuses. Let her say what she wants about me. I'm going back to Florida tonight.
Ew. Florida.
As she walks out, April leaves the interview room at the exact same time and walks up to her. They immediately get into it. How could you do this to your own mother? Pff, some mother. You led the cops right to my safe deposit box. Too bad the money wasn't there. Lorraine tells her that it's not about the money. She wants April to tell the police where the baby is. April won't, so her mom tells her that she's through with her and walks off. April just stays there, smug, smiling. God, if I was that gorgeous, I would be a total cunt. I can't, like, that couldn't be given to me. The Lord and Jesus Savior knew that. Isn't she amazingly gorgeous?
Yeah,
just
she is,
beautiful. Yeah. I couldn't handle that kind of power. I couldn't.
Right. Back at the precinct, Tasha's still ugly as fuck. You are actually amazingly beautiful, so it's kind of weird for when you're saying that, but whatever. Let's just say that luckily some of the most amazing, beautiful people don't necessarily know they are, and they don't wield the power that they could.
No, I was just gifted with a cripplingly low self-esteem and mental illness. So
Right. Yeah. Thank God.
that really just balances things out.
Thank fucking God. Jeez.
I would be destroying everything if I was like, I am.
In place of a king, you shall have a queen.
Yeah.
More powerful than the ocean. Remember Lord of the Rings? Oh, you didn't see that?
No.
I must retire to the west. I passed the test.
But I know it because you've said that several times.
Back at the precinct, Novak tells Cragen she's not letting April walk, period. Cragen is worried that if they don't play along with this, they may never find the baby. Novak wants to know how they know the baby is even alive. Huang thinks the baby is alive. I don't think the baby even exists, but only because it's April's bargaining chip. That's the only reason why this baby still might exist.
That's what Huang
Allegedly.
says. Yeah.
Yeah. Betty and Staves walk in and say that they went looking for the baby, but none of the couples who paid April had the baby. And the hotel where she was staying says she checked in alone and wasn't pregnant. That baby could be anywhere. And I wrote, I don't think there was a baby to begin with. I was so surprised when the baby showed up. I was like, what in the fuck? This doesn't go along with any of what I thought was happening. It doesn't go along with us. I was pretty dead on with everything except for the baby.
Yeah.
Benson says April is a cold-hearted bitch. And Novak says, but is she crazy? Wong says she's not, quote, crazy. She's amoral and knows what she's doing is wrong, but that the jury will look at it as just another con job. Benson thinks that if they take April to trial, they're never going to find the kid. They're kind of brainstorming about what April did with the child. Like, is the baby dead? Did it get sold to a pedophile? Like, oh my God, why even? Ugh.
I know.
All of a sudden, Pallister comes in and he tells them that they have to find his baby.
His accent changed. Okay, so in the beginning, he sounded like...
Posh British.
Yeah, a Harry Potter guy. And then there was a line that he said that I was like, this is so Lisa Vanderpump. And then here he gets really Arnold Schwarzenegger for just a second. Just that one line. He's like, you have to make her tell you where the baby is. Get to the chopper.
Novak lets him know that April will not tell them where the baby is unless she gets let off. And Novak's not going to do that. Pallister tells Novak that she's got to let April go. Novak says that April's fucking dangerous, dude. And then Pallister's like, dude, she fucking owes me. And I was like, what? But it's just because of the baby. Novak asks the SVU squad if they have any other leverage on her. Betty and Staves are at Rikers Island, where Dr. McManus is in jail. Remember, he's April's dad. He tells them that they're wrong about April, and if anyone is to blame, it's Lorraine. I never should have, quote, chosen Lorraine. So she was involved in his first experiments. He was looking for the, quote, perfect woman. He married Lorraine because she was smart, beautiful, and an accomplished woman. They married and had April. He says that April was smart. She was a beautiful baby with an IQ of 170.
As a baby.
As a baby. The baby came out like...
With a calculator.
Yeah. The baby came out and they slapped it in the butt. He was like, yep, C square. Stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Equals of C square. Bull, Copernicus. Bull. Whatever. Okay, then Saber's like, great, but what happened to your experiment? McManus thought he picked the ultimate mate, but he wasn't rich. And that's what Lorraine wanted. He says he didn't see April until she found him last year, and he was so happy to have his daughter back. But Benson tells him that she was using him to scam rich and powerful men. McManus is convinced that she meant no harm, that she was just trying to help him. They remind him that she lied about being raped and conned Pallister out of money. Like, hello, dude. I know you're like pumped to see your daughter, but fucking...
He's just as conned as everybody else is at this point.
He says that April had already come to him and confessed. She knew it was wrong, and she said she would die to fix what she did. He was going to give April the life insurance money so she and the baby could start a new life. Benson tells him that she doesn't have the baby. They don't know where the baby is. McManus is like, she'll tell me where the baby is. Sure, bud.
Yeah, I know. This guy is delusional. So back at the precinct, they've got McManus there begging April, and she doesn't give a shit. He tells her she's confused. She's got to think about what's best for the baby. He still doesn't believe that she's a total monster. April won't give it up, even though he claims he's just trying to help her. She's only concerned about what's best for her. Okay. She's like, nobody else is going to be concerned about what's best for me. And he's like, I will. She wants to know why he's trying to help her. Like, you're just trying to get yourself a fucking deal. And he's like, I love you. What? I'm your dad. I love you. I want to help you. And she tells him love is for suckers. That baby's my ticket out of here. And then turns to Novak. I want my deal. Novak tells her, I can't give you one. Okay. So April tells Novak, well, then I can't give you my baby. Just a game of fucking hot chickens. It's just two hotties just not giving in, not giving an inch. McManus begs Novak to take the baby from April before she destroys it. Novak gives in, and April gets the deal with no fucking jail time.
Jesus Christ.
April writes down where the baby is, tells Novak, nice doing business with you, and walks out. We go along with April as she walks down the hall and she sees Benson. Benson already knows what went down. Novak gave you a deal, didn't she? Benson tells her that she's glad because she doesn't deserve to be a mother.
She doesn't give a shit. She didn't do this to be a mom.
No. And Benny's like, I'm going to make sure you'll never see that baby. Like, you are so off right now, Benson.
And she's like, good.
April's sitting there like, I'm a little hungry. What do you even, I don't give a shit. But April goes, yeah, good. It's good. I'll never see it. Maybe that kid will have a chance. Bye. Okay, so she had written down, this is where the baby is. Train station. Camera pans down. We see Lorraine being consoled by an employee at the train station as she tells her someone stole her purse at her daughter's funeral and she can't get back to Florida. And she's holding a baby. She's just trying to get her grandchild, her daughter's child, who just passed away, back to Florida to live with her. The lovely woman at the counter gives her a ticket for a train ride to Miami. Just as Benny and Stabes come up with the, you're not going anywhere, lady. Lorraine turns around and pauses for a minute. You can see that she's beep, 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 like assessing the situation, hands the baby to Benson and asks, just curious, how did you track me down? And Benny tells her, your daughter gave you up. Lorraine and April had been working together this whole time, all along. Stabler tells her that he can't prove that she broke the law this time, but promises that he'll get her.
Sure.
And Lorraine walks away laughing because no, he can't.
Can't they get her on like harboring a kidnapped child or like?
I know. Or like interfering with an investigation or something. Because that's the thing is
also, what was the time frame of all this? Because she was all of a sudden not pregnant and that baby looked like it was months old.
Did it? I didn't even pay attention to the baby. I should have.
It doesn't matter, but it was just like the time frame. I'm like, was this like a few months? Because if it was all within a couple days, she had a baby and was like postpartum.
Right. It's very sitcom. It's like, oh, we have this infant, and then the next season the baby's 5.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah, Modern Family.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah. So at the very least, so just because April got a deal doesn't mean that there was no crime then. There was still a crime and you can still get Lorraine. I don't know. It just, that didn't make sense to me. But they're like, we'll get you someday. And she's like, I don't even live in New York. No, you won't. Bye.
Yeah. Anyways, cut to the hospital. The baby is being examined. Benson watches through a window. Cragen asks Benson how the baby is, and she calls the baby Sarah. She's fine, but thinks April and her mom are at a bar laughing at them. Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
They have a lot of money.
And this is what they do.
Yeah.
There was never conflict between them. This was the plan. Every time that something got fucked up or they figured something out, they were 5 steps ahead of them.
Right. Cragen tells her to let it go, but Benson can't. She's pissed. Lorraine and April scammed people and got to walk. They're never going to stop playing their games, correct? Cragen tells her to stop beating herself up. The baby matters more than that, and she's going to be loved. Great. That's awesome. I do think that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not even, I don't know why I'm saying it sarcastically. I don't feel sarcastic. I'm saying that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So now Benny and Stabes are at Pallister's home. Pallister holds little baby Sarah. He's been up all night setting up a room for her. Oh, Stabler and Benson go to leave. Pallister says that he heard about April's 170 IQ and that he's read up on McManus and he's calling him brilliant. Pallister says that Sarah has good genes from his side too and she's perfect. Benson looked kind of concerned. She was like, okay.
Yeah.
End of the episode. Toyota.
Okay. Yeah.
Good episode. It was a good episode. It was just wild. It was a wild ride.
I didn't see her as concerned necessarily. I mean, maybe like a little like wah 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 wah, like what's
why
he
are we
focused
talking
on?
About science,
but also this guy's a scientist, and also he's looking for the silver lining. He was sexually assaulted, extorted, and like he gave her $500,000.
Yeah, his wife left him.
He has a
baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I wonder if his wife would come back knowing the information. If she'd be like, "Oh, this is very bizarre, but I love you, and we're gonna raise this baby together." Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe he's just like, I'm a girl dad. This is who I am now.
He goes to the lab with the little baby Bjorn and everything.
Yeah. So this episode is based on a chaser that I have done, and we're gonna just clip that one as a little refresher. This is Sante and Kenneth Kimes, mother and son. Wild ride, wild story. So
I don't remember. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
This story is about Sante and Kenny Kimes. Sante was born on July 24th, 1934. Her father was a laborer and the Dust Bowl was in full force. She and her siblings were constantly scouring for food, and when Sante was 10, her dad died. So her mom moved the family to LA, where Sante's mom, spiraled into alcoholism and was trying to make money as a sex worker. Like, there was no, she was doing because it was her only option. At this point, Sante and her 3 siblings were basically street kids, begging and stealing to survive. At 11, she was caught again stealing from a soda shop owned by Kelly Seligman. He and his wife Dottie made her promise to stop stealing from them when he caught her that time. And in exchange, they would feed her a hot meal every day because they liked her and they felt bad for her. I mean, she was like a regular and they understood and knew what her story was. So then Dottie set Sante up to be adopted by her sister, Mary Chambers. Sante's mom didn't even fight it. Like, this is the kind of situation that she was in, that her mom didn't even fight it. She was dealing with her own intense shit. In 1946, Sante moved to Carson City, Nevada to live with her adoptive parents, Mary and Edwin. She was 12. Sante said that it was the most important thing that had ever happened to her. They were kind, and she moved into their home, had her own room, no food insecurities, clean, nice clothing, all of the basics that weren't afforded to her in the first 12 years of her life. But then Sante was picked up for shoplifting at 16. Which isn't bananas. Like, a lot of 16-year-olds are like, I'm going to try this out.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily say much at this time. But she had also stolen Edwin's credit card and charged the shit out of it. So Mary and Edwin asked her to move out after she graduated high school. She agreed, but then she also told Mary that Edwin had been sexually abusing her since she was 13.
Oh my God.
And Sante would later say that she didn't know how to explain it because she liked him so much, but didn't like what he was doing, which is not an uncommon story. It's like, you can't explain it because you were groomed, you know?
Yeah. And you don't have any experience, like, really any other, you know what I mean? Like, if it's so mind fucky. Like, I don't.
Yeah. I can't imagine to feel very close in a loving relationship with somebody and then have them do that and be like, this.
And not even knowing that it's necessarily wrong because you don't know. But, like, it feels weird. And, and you can't articulate it because you don't fucking know anything else.
And also, it feels good. And then it's like...
That in itself is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's shame and there's... Oh, my God. So the story that she told Mary was never substantiated, but like we always say, we lean into believing victims first. And it's also never been proven that it didn't happen. So just that to be... Just put a little point at the end of that. So after high school, after she moves out of her adoptive parents' home, she goes on to have a 3-month marriage, bops around for a while, making money with cons and sex work. One of her grifts that I couldn't help but kind of love was when she was arrested for grand theft in LA in 1965 and then auto theft a few days later in Norwalk, California. A former lawyer of Sante's tells it perfectly. Quote, "Let me tell you the story of the car theft. Sante walked into a Cadillac dealership and conned the salesman into letting her test drive a convertible, alone of course. And of course she never came back and drove the car for months as if she owned it. When the police caught up with her, she told them she had been given the car to test drive and that's what she was doing, still test driving it."
Oh my God.
The best details of that are that she showed up decked out looking like a rich bitch. Plus, like, facial feature wise, she looked just like Elizabeth Taylor and just use that to her advantage.
Yeah.
So
I don't I don't want to glamorize like bank robberies or car theft, but like, it's bucket list shit for me. Like,
I know. I don't either. Like, I know, because there are victims and people get traumatized by like, but like she went in and just fully owned this role and was like, I'm going to drive this fucking, I don't remember what kind of car it was, but she ended up convincing this dude that it was necessary for her because it was standard practice. He's like, I have to be with you. You can't just take the car. And she's like, oh, in her furs and whatever. And she's like, I need to drive it by myself for performance purposes. If you're riding with me, how will I know how it handles when it's me on the road by myself?
Yeah.
Like, okay, rich lady. And so he just lets her go. And she's like, and the cops find her 3 months later.
Yeah.
You know, especially when it's like a woman. I'm just like, I give you a little more wiggle room because
there's something,
you know, there's
something to that. Like, all women should have their own apartment by themselves at least once and like steal a car.
or get away with some harmless crime.
Something.
So in 1957, Sante is 23 and gets married to Edward Walker. They had attended high school together. He owned a construction business with his dad. They were upper middle class, living in Sacramento. Edward later said that Sante was super paranoid about money, squirreling cash, pushing him to ask for advancements and raises. She even got him to go back to school to become an architect so he could cut out the middleman of his business and make more money. All of this is straight out of the I Grew Up Super Poor textbook.
Yeah.
Like my grandpa grew up poor and he buried coffee cans of money all over his property. So Sante and Edward became more and more successful, but Sante still couldn't get past some of her habits. She stole credit cards, shoplifted, and regularly dined and dashed. She claimed to her husband that she did it to save money. During this time, she was also committing forgery and fraud, mainly against her husband. So she had his signature down. She quietly and methodically stole from their account and over time built herself a nice little nest egg. In 1967, Sante filed for divorce. Edward says that she even forged his signature on an alimony agreement, paying her $1,400 a month. Today's money, that's over $10,000.
I really, really like her. I know
she's awful though. No. You're not going to like her. You're not going to like her.
Okay.
But I mean, she's living this existence in a way that it's like, you need to get a better job so that I can quietly steal from you for years, leave you, and take more from you once I'm done. So this $1,400 a month, they go before a judge. The judge cuts it in half, which is still a lot. That's still like $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
Today's money, $5,000. And she's got God knows how much fucking buried in her backyard of Eddie's money. In 1969, Sante is 35 years old and she reads an article in Millionaire magazine about this 6'2", hottie patati, rich ass, recently divorced 53-year-old dude, Kenneth Keim. Okay. And she's like, that's mine. Kenneth was living and working in Palm Springs, California at the time. So Sante up and moves to the desert. She first starts hanging out with his outer circle, moving her degrees of separation closer and closer to him until she gets close enough to request a business meeting with him personally. So she's going to act like a potential client. Okay.
Oh, God.
Sante had studied Kenneth, so she knew how to manipulate the situation. She made sure that Kenneth's sister and business partner, Hannah, was at the meeting so he'd be more relaxed, therefore more willing to get personal, which really allowed for Sante to shine. Okay. She was a very charming person, if you couldn't tell already.
Yeah.
By the end of the meeting, Hannah loved her, and Sante and Kenneth decided they wanted to hang out again. She dove in even more, finding out the details of this man from his friends and family, all of his favorite things. Hannah told her his favorite flowers were gardenias. She went and bought a freaking case of gardenia perfume. She stroked his ego super hard and bulldogged for him to other people. He was more of a passive person in like personal relationships. And she was like, you know, she was a fucking, I don't like the term pit bull. Cause pit bulls aren't like that, but she was a fucking one of those dogs from Ghostbusters that's like haunted that goes after dude. And when Susan Sarandon's like possessed anyway,
Susan Sarandon.
No.
What's her name?
Who's that redheaded bitch in fucking
Avatar,
Ghostbusters,
and Aliens.
Avatar.
And
Fuck, what is her name?
Regis. Nope. It's not Regis Philbin. I almost what the fuck is her name? I know we all know her name.
I'm gonna be so pissed.
It's Ripley from Aliens. I know that name. Sigourney Weaver. I didn't even have to look it up. I was trying to, and I fucking remembered.
I know when you said Regis, I was like, I know what you're doing. Like you're finding a unique name in your brain. Great. Anyway, so all of this stuff that she was doing was a slow but consistent transition into her pretty much running his life. She eventually controlled where he went, who he talked to. She was just a queen of manipulation. A few years later, although by all accounts there was no marriage and Kenneth wasn't particularly down with it, Sante started going by Sante Kynes and assumed the role of Kenneth's wife. And she felt it was necessary to wear a 10-carat diamond ring.
Okay. Kenneth
would try to break up with her, but she'd always get back in with pregnancy scares and suicide threats. And, you know, she just really had this guy manipulated and in an abusive situation, you know, a mentally and emotionally abusive situation. Do you still like like her, Gabe?
No.
Just kidding. I would have liked her too. Yeah. I liked her at first too. Okay. 1973. America's bicentennial was coming up. Sante got Kenneth to create this promo poster, The Forum of Man. It was a poster of all the flags to have ever repped the U.S. and all the state flags. It doesn't matter what was on it. It was just like important to how this got started. Sante convinced Kenneth that it was the most amazing thing ever and that they were going to sell posters in bulk to the U.S. government to put up in every classroom across the country.
Now I remember.
The 70s were different. So like I hear it and I'm like, just send a fucking PDF. I don't know. She wrote to the official bicentennial committee not to sell them the idea of the poster, like she claimed, just to get a response. This is how she got their letterhead and signature, to freely conduct official business. She also took the stationery's logo and made her husband business cards with the title, The Honorary Bicentennial Ambassador of the United States, as if he was appointed that title by the official committee.
Right.
It's unclear if Kenneth knew all of the forgery going on or any of the forgery going on. Then Sante turned around and wrote to the committee using the stationery she had made, posing as the person who had responded to her initial letter. But this letter was to instruct the committee to arrange a pinning ceremony to make her husband's ambassador title official.
Wow.
These plates, I mean, she's a fucking mastermind, right? They did it.
Oh, Jesus.
With this, she was able to gain a meeting with USPS about hanging the posters across the country. Also, she was able to get him speaking at the Rose Bowl Festival about patriotism with First Lady Patricia Nixon.
Jesus.
Yeah. All right. February 26, 1974 now. Sante and Kenneth crashed 4 black tie parties around the White House, including one that President Ford was hosting. They were quietly escorted out of each party, but not before Sante was able to gush to people about the Forum of Man. She even got on the mic and made a fucking speech. So they made a big impression because the next day the headlines read, "The biggest crash since 1929.
Oh, geez.
This is what prompted the FBI to get the Kimeses on their radar. Okay. The grifts continued, false insurance claims. There's a million stories attached to Sante Kimes and different grifts that she pulled. The big connection was not with her and her husband, but with her and her son.
Okay.
On March 24th, 1975, when Sante was 41, Kenneth Kareem Kimes, known as Kenny, was born. I know his initials are KKK. We're just going to move on right past that.
I didn't even catch it, but yeah.
I just did because I'm looking at it and I'm going, ooh. April 1976. Sante and Kenneth moved with Kenny Jr. to Hawaii. They were dodging some insurance fraud issues. Insurance investigators tried to depose Kenneth's mother and aunt, Alice and Naoma. But before they could get deposed, Sante's like, hey, we're going to move you to Hawaii, okay? These women are like, ooh. They go there and they basically become prisoners of Sante. They weren't allowed to speak to anyone, have access to phones or write letters. Sante allowed them to go to church and that was it. This went on for months until they were able to make contact with a family member in California through a church friend and escaped back to the mainland. And the family was shocked when they saw them. They were emaciated and showed signs of physical abuse.
What the fuck?
Warning. Okay, this is jarring. Skip ahead if you don't want to hear something completely fucked up. When examined at a hospital, a doctor found that Alice's vagina had been sewn shut with black thread.
What? That seems like a major leap. Like,
yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, her need for control was this intense, if that tells you anything.
Is Alice her mother-in-law?
Yeah. And Naoma is her husband's aunt.
Okay.
Sante and Kenneth had houses in Vegas, Cancun, La Jolla, Palm Springs, and Honolulu. All of these homes had a staff of undocumented immigrants that she held as slaves. She promised all of them a great job, payment under the table, etc. They literally had deadbolts on the outsides of their doors. These women lived in absolute fear of her and experienced some of the worst physical abuse. Sante punished one girl by putting her in a scalding shower, burned one with a hot iron, and beat another until she passed out.
What the fuck?
And little Kenny, her son, witnessed all of this.
Oh my God, so he's fucked up.
Oh yeah. And her son, Kenny, was her ultimate prisoner. He couldn't go to school or have playmates. Can you imagine having that psycho as your mother?
No.
I mean, if she was going to have control over anybody, it was going to be her, little person. In 1985, after Sante had been convicted of stealing a $5,000 mink coat, but was able to skip out on the conviction through loopholes, she was picked up on the charge of slavery. Witnesses and survivors had testified against her. Kenneth got a lesser charge for being a party to it and ended up paying a fine. Sante received a 5-year prison sentence for slavery and human trafficking across state lines. Now, all of this came out after her mother-in-law and aunt were able to escape. A side note that I found ridiculous, okay? Sante tried to have her homeowner's insurance cover the $35 million civil suit the maids collectively brought against her. And the company was like, we don't cover slavery.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Jesus.
So Sante goes to prison. Kenny and his father were finally free. So his dad was, it's like, well, how did he get away with like whatever? How much involvement did he have? He was self-medicating like pretty hard.
Just checked out. I can't get away, so this is my life.
And I mean, being a passive guy, I know we don't give a whole lot of passes to dudes, but it sounds like a familiar situation for somebody in a pretty like traumatic abusive situation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, men for sure get abused too, and I know we're not like we don't
sympathize with dudes a whole lot.
Well, and like just in the world, it's like we don't. There's not a lot of resources for men who are being abused. I mean, there's like even the shelters for like battered men or like whatever are almost non-existent because guys are supposed to be tough and strong and blah blah blah. And it's like
I was just gonna say, the expectation that men can't be abused or sexually assaulted or whatever it's
pretty gross. And I know we give dudes a lot of shit, but like
that's what I mean. Like we talk a lot of shit and we give dudes a lot of shit, but like
the way we raise our dudes is fucked up.
Oh, I know.
It seems like it's changing, but we'll see.
In my fucking house, it is. As much as I can have control over it. So here we are. Okay.
You sounded like that lady from Legally Blonde.
What?
When you said that, my fucking house it is, you sounded like...
In my fucking house it is, Jennifer Coolidge.
Yeah. Oh, you brought your laughing cup. Taking it.
No, I've been keeping a lid on it because I've been recording in my bed. Look at this. I got our new fridge makes balls of ice.
Balls?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know.
Jawbreaker that. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to get stuck in her throat.
Oh, no. God, my teeth will split in half.
No, I mean, if it got stuck, like the movie Jawbreaker, where the Jawbreaker got stuck in her throat.
Oh, okay. I thought you didn't want to see my teeth shatter in front of you.
I also don't want to see that, but go ahead.
Okay, so Sante's off in prison. Kenny and his dad are finally free. Later on, Kenny would refer to this time as his golden years. During this time, Kenneth came out of his fog as well. He immediately entered a 60-day rehab program. He had spiraled into alcoholism pretty bad. Like I said, he was self-medicating. He then enrolled 10-year-old Kenny in school. This was the first time Kenny had ever been able to go to school. Kenneth had then sold some of his hotels to be able to cut back on work and spend more time with his son. He had a pool put in, a game room, and a theater for Kenny to be able to entertain friends, and he encouraged him to make some.
Yeah.
Kenny became popular at school, thriving and loving his freedom. I read conflicting things about Sante's stint, but she was released between year 3 and 4 of her sentence. Kenny was stunned and upset. He didn't want her coming home, and for good reason.
Yeah.
She pulled Kenny from school and moved him away from his friends. They relocated to the San Diego property. He wrote desperate letters to friends. He even sent one money asking them to hire someone to kill her.
Oh my God.
Kenneth started drinking again and things went back to their fucked up normal.
Oh my God. I hate that.
In 1990, instead of selling her Honolulu home, Sante paid an acquaintance $3,000 to burn it to the ground so she could collect the insurance money. That acquaintance was Edgar Holmgren. Okay. By 91, police had caught up with him and convinced him to wear a wire to set up Sante. They had been tailing her for years, but she was a con woman, so she was able to like get away with quite a bit of shit. If she wouldn't have been keeping people as slaves, she would have never gone to prison.
Yeah.
So before they could get this guy to wear a wire, Edgar and Sante had this trip plan that they were going to go on. And he's like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do this because backing out of it would seem really weird. So I'm just going to go. He was never seen again.
Her husband? No, I mean, the Edgar guy. Yeah,
Edgar Holmgren. He disappeared. Okay. In 1994, as he waited for Sante in her car in the parking lot of a Wells Fargo bank, Kenneth Kimes died of an aneurysm.
Whoa.
Sante had him cremated. Kenny was in his freshman year at UCSB, and she didn't tell him that his dad died until she picked him up from the airport for summer break.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
She's a fucking psycho.
She shows up at the airport. He's like, hi, Mom, where's Dad? And she showed him the urn in the backseat of the car and goes, he's right there. Scam time. Okay. She gave misinformation to the coroner to delay the processing on Kenneth's death certificate. She did this so she could move around and liquidate assets as to not have to give it to his other family, i.e., her stepkids. He had a son and daughter from his first marriage. She is that stepmom. Since they were never legally married, she wasn't entitled to anything. And it said as much in his will. Like he wrote, he's like, she doesn't get shit. It's the only time I have power is when I'm dead.
Yeah.
So during this time, when she's like pretending he's still alive, people would call or try to get in touch with him and she would make up a story. One of the stories I read was that he had gone to Japan to build a motel. Sante didn't want to share Kenneth's fortune with anyone. So she got an old associate of Ken's. Meet David Kasdan. Kasdan helped her create false documents to put some of the Kimes' real estate in his name. Really, he's just kind of holding on to it for a cut after it's not deemed an assets of Ken's anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But Sante, of course, started pulling shit on David too. She would take out second mortgages on the properties, which once David found out, he was pissed. So because it was in his name, she's taking out these mortgages. He's in the red for millions now.
Yeah. And he was doing this to like help her and get a cut.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately to help himself. But yeah, she's like, she conned him. She's like, do this thing for me and I'll give you a cut of my profits or whatever. And he's like, ooh, easy money. Okay. And she's like, but I'm a piece of shit. So
yeah.
So he goes to Sante and he's like, I'm going to go to the cops and tell him everything. Like, you can't fuck me over. His body was found shot in the face in a dumpster outside of the LA airport in March of 1998.
Fucking A.
Ken also had bank accounts in the Bahamas and the Caymans. Sante had started forging checks to get the money out of those accounts. Okay. And there was a Bohemian banker, Bilal Ahmed, that was said to have caught her. There was a meeting set between he and Sante at Cable Beach Hotel one evening. He's been missing ever since. So my guess is that he confronted her, and just like anybody else who had ever confronted her or threatened to expose her,
She was like, bye. Yeah.
Boop. At this point, her son Kenny had dropped out of college and is going across the country fucking thrill conning people with his mom. He didn't stand a chance. She had trained him and she was all he had. Shortly after David was killed, Sante and Kenny had purchased a new Lincoln Town car with a bad check. That'll come in later. Okay. Sante eventually ended up hearing about Irene Silverman and her $10 million mansion. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Irene. All right.
Okay.
Irene moved to New York City as a ballerina in 1933. She danced at Radio City Music Hall and married Samuel Silverman, a real estate mogul.
Ah, Sammy Silverman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They had a gorge 5-story mansion on the Upper East Side. I mean, that's like insane property in New York. Schmancy town, New York City. After Samuel died, Irene converted the mansion's lower 3 floors into luxury apartments and kept the top 2 floors for herself. She had a good relationship with her tenants. And it was really hard to get into one of Irene's apartments because a personal connection was pretty necessary for Irene to rent to someone. One day she gets a call from Ava Guerrero. Her boss, Manny Guerin, needed to rent from her while he was in the city on business. Ava told Irene that she had heard about Irene's property from a mutual friend, Rudy Vicari. Irene had known Rudy for 40 years. So because of this connection, Irene felt comfortable with renting to this new tenant. Manny would be able to move in for the time that he needed. Unfortunately, when Irene called to check the reference, Rudy was out of town on vacation. Too bad.
Yeah.
And especially too bad since Ava was actually Sante and Manny was Kenny.
Yeah.
June 15th of 1998, Kenny moved in. Irene immediately didn't like him. She was so skeptical of him that she drew sketches of Manny and Ava. She even kept a journal of every interaction she had with him. On the night of July 4th, Irene hosted a dinner party with her other tenants. She told them he smelled like jail and acted bizarre. Remember, she's like an Upper East Side rich bitch. So like, he smells of jail. And that he acted bizarrely, avoiding hallway security cameras by like sliding his body against the wall. And she could still see him in the camera. Like, she and other staff could see his shadow under the door, watching through the peephole and listening at the door. He was just constantly surveilling other people and her.
Right.
He changed the locks on the apartment, which was not okay, not allowed. And there was some weird old lady who was always in and out, covering her face as she went.
Yeah.
Fucking his mom. Okay.
Right.
She kept pretty solid tabs on them. What Irene didn't know was that Sante and Kenny had obtained a copy of the deed to her house and bribed a notary to stamp forged documents deeding the house to a shell corporation in Sante's name.
My
Are you
God.
following?
Yes. Just like, my God.
I know.
These fucking people. Jesus.
It's bananas.
Yeah.
On the morning of July 5th, itty bitty 82-year-old Irene Silverman would go off to her office and, as she did, ask the maid to take her boxer George for a walk on the roof garden. Irene was never seen again. Around the time Irene was discovered to be missing, Sante was meeting one of her ne'er-do-wells, Gary Gulman. How often does he do well? Ne'er. Oh, I love him. She was meeting this lackey, Samuel Peterson, for drinks in Midtown to go over some plans. He would assume the role as the apartment manager of Irene's estate and begin evicting tenants, change the locks, blah, blah, blah. Okay? We know this because that fucker was wired.
Oh, shit.
The FBI, NYPD, and LAPD were listening and watching. Turns out, when Kenny killed David Kasdan, he used a gun registered to Samuel Peterson. They flipped him with threats of fucking murder charges.
Yeah.
So as soon as Sante called him for a meeting, he was like, "Wire me up, boys!" So later, as the cops watched, Kenny shows up. They all hug. They're like sitting at this lunch meeting, right? Patterson gives the signal and a dozen agents pounce on them. They find a set of keys. Turns out they were Irene's. Those were in Kenny's pocket, along with a bunch of other credit cards and different names, and an ID for Manny Guerin. At FBI headquarters, Kenny and his mom were separated to be questioned. In questioning Sante, a cop went through her purse. He found over $10,000 in cash, Irene's passport, bank books, and other documents. They thought that was weird because they were just questioning them about Kasdan. They had no idea Irene Silverman was even missing at this point.
Right.
So this gets messy.
Yeah.
The cops used Patterson to set up Sante and Kenny for the arrest in the murder of David Kasdan. When questioning the two, they pretend they had brought them in for the car theft. Remember the stolen Lincoln Town car from Utah that Sante and Kenny were cruising around in?
Yeah.
So they found a parking stub in Kenny's pants and they went to the parking garage to get it. And they found the most ridiculous amount of evidence in this car. A fake social security card with Irene Silverman's name on it, a forged deed that approved the transfer of the townhouse to the Shell Corporation in Florida set up by the Kimes, a loaded 9mm, a .22 caliber pistol, cassettes of Irene's telephone conversations taken from wiretaps, a bunch of wigs, masks, plastic handcuffs, $30,000 in cash, an empty stun gun box, passports, hypodermic needles, pepper spray, practiced forgeries of Irene's signature, brass knuckles, Rohypnol. I'm not done. A bunch of fake IDs of Sante and Kenny with a slew of aliases, 15 notebooks detailing plans of crimes and cons, including the grift on Irene, everything dating back 5 years.
Wow.
The Irene notebook had a page that literally said, "What is Irene's background? Get her social security number. Stun gun." Like a checklist of shit.
Jesus.
They were like, "We need to check on Irene. Like, there's a lot going on here." So they get into Irene's office. They found her Kenny journal where she's just like, "This fucking weird guy who stinks," and whatever. Actually, it was probably like really nice penmanship. And she's like, "This fucking tenant stinks." In this journal, the last entry, Irene had written down that Kenny had popped into her office asking for a copy of a newspaper. And he said it didn't even have to be today's newspaper. So obviously he was doing that to see if she was alone, right?
Okay.
Cut to 2002. A jury would convict Sante and Kenny on 117 counts. Kenny was sentenced to 125 years and Sante to 120. NYPD Detective Tom Ryan said it was the first conviction in New York State history without a body or any direct evidence. The presiding judge said of Sante Kimes is surely the most degenerate defendant who has ever appeared in this courtroom, and her degeneracy has extended even to the willful corruption of her own son. It's clear that Miss Kimes has spent all her life plotting and scheming, exploiting and manipulating, preying on the vulnerable and the gullible at every opportunity. Police Commish Howard Saffer told Larry King, quote, "These are two of the most cunning and probably two of the most evil criminals that we've ever dealt with. They are where they should be, because if you look at where the Kimes have been, there is either a body or somebody missing." Within a week, Sante was reported by her cellmate for trying to convince her to aid in Sante's escape. She was moved to a more secure facility.
How old was she by then?
Shit,
In
how
her
old was
70s?
she? She was in her 60s.
Yeah. She's like, all right, let's make a
She's like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Sante," or whatever I'm telling you my name is. I'm gonna need your help. I gotta get out of here.
And the lady was just like, no, I'm not.
I need a good pair of legs and a strong back to go in after it.
You're right.
Aladdin. Okay, so
Oh my God, that's right.
yeah, she was in her 60s because it was 2002. Kenny would be 27. She had Kenny when she was 41. So yeah, she was like 68. She continued to try and pull shit until winding up being housed in solitary confinement and losing phone privileges. Court TV was supposed to interview them, but since Sante was unable to, Kenny did the interview alone. About halfway through, he lunged at the female journalist, dragging her to the corner of the room with a pen to her throat, and demanded they get the governor on the phone to stop Sante's transfer to California for David Kasdan, where she faced the death penalty. She's just bopping around getting she's got all kinds of charges.
Yeah.
And they need to try her for all this shit. And he's like, "No, she can't go to California because I don't want her to get the death penalty." 4 hours later, he's got this pen to this lady's throat. 4 hours later, a guard was able to tackle him and release the hostage. Kenny got 8 more years for that and spent the immediate 4 years following the attack in solitary.
Wow.
So they were both eventually sent back to LA to be tried for the murder of David Kasdan. In 2004, Kenny was 29 and hadn't spoken to his mom in 4 years. He took the plea bargain offered for a confession for the murder of Irene Silverman, David Kasdan, and Sayel Balid Ahmed, that Cayman Island bank manager, you know? He admitted to killing him and dumping his body in the ocean.
Oh my God.
Kenny would also tell the jury that the two had ambushed Irene that morning that he had popped in and asked for the paper.
Yeah.
Once he saw that she was alone, he had gone back to tell his mom, and that's when they went in because they knew they had a period of time. Her assistant was taking the dog out. So they ambushed Irene. Sante zapped her with a 3,000-volt stun gun and then told him to, quote, "do it." Kenny strangled Irene until she was dead.
Oh my
He
God.
then put her into a garbage bag inside of a duffel bag inside of the trunk of that stolen car. Then Kenny disposed of the bag in a trash bin in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Jesus.
Sante died in her prison cell on May 19th, 2014 at 79 years old. Kenny is still in prison for life and is spending it in San Diego.
Wow.
The end.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up pictures of Sante
Fucking wild.
Kimes. She does look like fucking Elizabeth Taylor. Holy shit.
I know, right? Yeah.
Damn.
so-
This is crazy.
I know.
Big old bonus chaser.
There's a fucking movie. There's a little thing called Murders, a movie.
Oh, yeah, there's all kinds of shit. There's a book called Dead End by Jeannie King.
Dead
Or
End.
Jeanne. I can never tell. Jeanne.
Her son. Poor fucking dude. I mean, honestly,
know.
like, Jesus.
I mean, her son didn't have a chance. He didn't.
No. Oh, he had a good 3 years of like having a normal life. With his dad and like friends and the pool and
I know.
oh shit.
But yeah, but then it's like, we know all the details of his situation. She also had a super fucked up upbringing.
Yeah.
So it's like, how much grace do you give to somebody who's killing people?
I mean, like, you can feel bad for how people were brought up, but like you're responsible for your own actions. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, and it's so like
At some
it's hard
point,
to even say
you're-
that because
I know.
your mind can be completely fucking twisted to believe that what you're doing is okay or what you're doing is like necessary.
I
You
know.
know, I mean, his mom was all he had. She was his island.
And she made sure that she was all he had.
Yeah. And then it's like,
Gross.
oh, this person's going to expose my mom. Oh my God, I can't have that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she used that to her advantage and reinforced it. Anyway, yeah, that's it.
She looks like John Prine when she's older.
Yeah, she kind of lost her looks, but like, I don't want to.
I know, but like, there's one. I'm not like, oh, she's pretty or gross or whatever. I'm just saying it's stunningly similar to John Prine.
I have to look her up now.
Especially.
I am an old woman.
I am
after my mother.
Yeah.
My old man is another. Dreams of thunder. Lightning was desire. So house would have burnt down.
Long time ago. Make me. Yeah, that's the one.
Fly from a country. Okay. All right, that's
The
it.
old rodeo. I love this. And I have chills.
I know, me too.
I love John Prine.
Oh,
So next week, we have season 7, episode 3, 911. Benny is on her way out for a night, probably looking hot as shit.
probably.
But a call comes in. There's a little girl that's been kidnapped and they got her on the phone. I think I remember this. Like they find her buried alive or something, but I'm not sure if this is that one. I don't know. It's not that.
I don't fully remember the episode, but I remember the 911 being the.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Rate and review us. Email us at svupod@gmail.com. If you want to mail us anything, P.O. Box 176, Deforest, Wisconsin, 53532. All of our social medias at svupod. If you want merch, go to svupod.com and check out our store. Also go to TeePublic. Our Facebook group is svupod Elite Squad. It's so fucking funny. You guys are hilarious.
Yeah.
Facebook group chat called Walk and Talk. Hashtag a little bit loud for indie pods. If you are an indie pod, hashtag your shit so we can all find you. Join our Patreon. We have so much extra content because we like you guys and we also feel guilty whenever we take a break, so we like overdo it.
Yeah.
It's patreon.com/svupod and text us or voicemail. Tell me ghost stories. I need another ghost story.
I have some for you in the hopper.
Shut up. I can't wait. So the number is 1-920-345-7005. Again, 1-920-345-7005. Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Be like, oh my God, you guys don't talk anymore. What happened? Did she sleep with your husband? I'm like, no, I took a photo of this guy who looked like Nick Cage. And she said it didn't look like Nick Cage. And I'm fucking sick of it.
It's like, I've slept with your husband. I've secretly birthed one of your children. But the Nick Cage thing is a woman. A woman.
You said that.
Did I say that weird?
You said it like you were trying to beatbox. A woman. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
and I'm talking through it, and I'm like, that's my throat doing it.
Okay.
Okay. You were like, everybody's like, oh shit. And to our Elite Squad patrons, Marisa M, Elke H, Tricia S, Emily T, Katarina G, Mary D, Joshua H, Lem, Eliza W, Melanie G, Andrew, I haven't talked to him in forever, Miranda B, Lauren T, Katie A, Kate H, Kate H, jeez, Kate H,
Vanessa, Lex, Shelby K, Kimberly L, Bonita R, Maren, Ursula, Catherine M, Kate P, Jessica S, D, Jana M,
Tammi J, Bayer, Sam D, Mac Attack, Meg M, Alexis J, Caitlin S, Christina D, Camille Z, Maggie D, Sin, Jessica P,
Madison H, Emily. Old Yeller was a mongrel, an ugly mongrel. What's that? Old Yeller, come back Yeller.
I have no idea what that's from. That's crazy.
Oh my God, it's from Old Yeller.
I mean, yeah, but like I don't remember it.
Oh, they had like it was the theme song. They did like a.
I don't know if I ever
was
heard
that
it.
cricket thing? Did like a sing along song thing for it.
I don't think I
You've heard it. Victoria, Scout G, Melissa M, Desiree R, Monica K, Katie S, Brenna T,
Andrea M, Tosh, Al H, Andrea H, Aunt Sarah as I live and breathe,
Aunt Sarah,
Katie H, Vern, Catherine B, Ariana,
Madeline K, Kristen F, Samara B, Amanda P, Mahalia S, Jules K, Julie R, Tracy, Rachel, Kitty, Nikki B, Carrie M, Lilani J, Alex, Samantha S, Angie W, and Ariel E.
Thanks for everything, guys. Thanks for the support.
Yo,
for
the best.
freaking just, I don't know, it's just really nice. You
Really
guys are
great.
just nice.
Great stuff. Good. All right.
All right, love you.
Stop.
Bye.
Okay.